In this video, I'd like to analyze a topic which is very important for the future improvement of the United States of America. So in this video, I want to ask the question, is America a Christian nation? Now, why is that important for our improvement, like I said in the introduction? That's very important because before you know how to move forward, before you know how to improve yourself, you need to be aware of who you are and what is the context that you're in. For example, as a person, I might be very unhealthy, so I might need to go to the gym. Well, how am I going to know that? I need to first know that I'm unhealthy, and I need to know that going to the gym can improve my health. So is America a Christian nation? To answer this question, which is very important to America's self-identification process, I would like to look at 3 different articles. I like to try to weigh these questions on balance. I want to hear who says yes, who says no, why. I want to try to logically reconcile them from my own point of view and come to my own conclusion, and that's what I'm going to do. The 3 articles I'm going to look at are a Huffington Post Blog article which says yes and no. I'm going to look at one article that says yes and one article that says no. And I'm going to hit the highlights. I highly encourage y'all to go through and view the source material yourself, because a lot of these are kind of doorways to worlds of information, okay? And I think that the sources that I've chosen do accurately represent the sort of segments of the community that hold those beliefs. So go check them out. So let's start from the middle ground. The title of the article is America a Christian Nation? His initial answer, his thesis is, believe it or not, this is a more complicated question than one might imagine. What a politically correct thing to say. Initially, he takes the position, no, it's not a Christian nation. He gives 3 pieces of information: the Founding Fathers, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution. So, the Bill of Rights, he notes, say that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. The Constitution, he cites it, he really doesn't elaborate. Furthermore, he goes and talks about the founders. He says that they are more accurately considered deists than Christians. So that's his evidence for that, and he says, therefore, both on historical and constitutional grounds, it can be effectively argued America is definitely not a Christian nation. However, he goes on to look at the other side of the coin, and I wish more people would do this. It seems like when we get on YouTube, they actively try not to. A lot of people I see out on YouTube will act as magnets, and they will grab onto any information that supports their thesis, and they will ignore the other side of the argument kind of thing. So I applaud those people who do look at the other side of the coin, and I think it really works to their own benefit of their own understanding, because when you reconcile 2 opposing points of view, often you'll find that you get a sort of more sophisticated, more truthful truth. So David looks at the other side of the coin, and he makes a few decent observations. He notes that the first universities in America, what we now call, by and large, the Ivy League, were established to train Christian clergy. An overwhelming number of the original hospitals, orphanages, immigration service, refugee service, these were all established by churches. Remember, in old America, we had a very laissez-faire, minimalist government. We had a very open and free market. So that void that my fellow economists these days, that they claim is, a broken market, it actually was filled at that time. It was filled by the Christian church. Furthermore, he claims that church attendance was considered a cultural value. He doesn't really back this up, but he states it. So that is really his argument right there. And he basically says, depending on what your view of a Christian nation is, yes or no, it can be either way. Now, I think that's a very politically correct and cute, but very crummy conclusion. And I'd also like to point out 3 main weaknesses in his article. One main weakness would be the fact that at no point does he actually define what is a Christian nation. The second point would be his implied definition. So he doesn't actually define it, but there is implied definition that if everyone calls America a Christian nation, then it is a Christian nation. Now, this is a very logically flawed line of thinking. And the third and final problem that I'd point out is the fact that he says that the Founding Fathers were more accurately described as deists. He's remembering the Founding Fathers and classifying them as deists, but at their time, in their own time, they were commonly understood to be Christians. Thomas Jefferson, for example, there's a thing called the Jefferson Bible. And let me just go ahead and further highlight the significance of that last point. So many Mormons believe that they're Christians, but many Christians don't believe that Mormons are Christians. Okay? So what if down the road, Mormonism is accepted by mainstream Christianity? Mormons in that future time would look back to today and say, oh yeah, that was just another branch of Christianity, and not recognize the sort of subtlety there that's very important if we're trying to self-identify as a country. On the other hand, what if down the road a group of Christians that's nowadays considered mainstream eventually became separate from the mainstream? They would look back and not realize the fact that in today's culture, Baptists are just regular Christians. They're just another kind of Christian. So I think we're kind of imposing that artificial lens back on them, because we're saying, hey, they're deists. But back in their day, deism was considered almost a denomination of Christianity.